Welcome to the Simply Incredible podcast. I am Daryl, a.k.a. The D, and with me is Troy Champney.
It's cold.
It is a bit chilly, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a little bit chilly.
And today is, what day is it?
Oh, man, today is special. October?
It's Groundhog Day?
It's the future.
It is the future.
Today is the future. The future is now. It's today. It's here.
Back to the Future 2.
Woo.
And today is that day.
Oh, man, I've been waiting since 89
Yep, 1989.
to be here today.
Yes, and I'm still waiting for some of these things to happen. Where's my flying car?
Dude, what a bust. No flying cars.
But so today we're going to go through the Back to the Future trilogy.
Love it.
So we'll start out with number one in 1985.
Absolutely. This, honestly, if I had, like, you know, my own top 10 list, this is definitely one of my favorite movies of all time.
Me too.
When this thing came out in the theater, this was one of the movies that, I mean, I paid over and over to see in the theater again.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I loved it. I loved the entire story. You know, the comedy was good. I mean, I loved it all. Michael J. Fox, one of my favorite actors of all time.
Now, did you know he was almost not in this movie?
I did. I knew that.
Do you know who almost was the lead?
Is it, I'm going to try to remember, is it Eric Stoltz?
Eric Stoltz.
Dude.
We have a winner.
Have you ever seen the footage of Eric Stoltz doing some of the Back to the Future stuff as Marty McFly?
Yes, I did.
And what'd you think?
It was not good.
Didn't it play off like too serious?
Could you imagine how much different this will be and how we would not be talking about number 2 or 3?
Oh, dude, it would have been dumb to try to go like drama or thriller with this. This is definitely a comedy.
Mm-hmm. Such a great movie. And director Robert Zemeckis, and he has a laundry list of good movies.
Throw some on me. What do we have?
Before this, he had Romancing the Stone.
Oh, love that.
Great movie. After this, you know, he had 2 and 3. Then he had Death Becomes Her. Not a great movie for me, but I know a lot of people really liked it.
It wasn't for me either.
Forrest Gump.
Oh, dude.
Love me some Forrest Gump. It's a long movie. Love it. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? One of your favorite movies that I happen to know, Contact.
Oh, I love that movie.
You did.
I do.
And then Castaway.
Oh, I like that one.
I mean,
that was
that's
good
just,
too.
That's a list of some of the stuff he's done.
Yeah. Yeah, me and Robert Zemeckis, we must be on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
I dig what he's doing.
Yeah, he's been around for a while and done some great things.
That's a good list. I didn't know he did all those.
Yeah. Right off the bat, IMDb 8.5. I almost feel like that's a little low. I loved it so much.
I think that's a little low. What would you give it if you were using their scoring?
Out of 10, I'd be 9.2.
Yeah, I could go a 9.2. You know, I could because, I mean, this thing is so good.
It's one of those, if it's on, I will sit down and watch it. That, The Goonies, that's another I will sit down and watch.
I kind of grade movies now, too. If I want to consider it a serious classic, is this one that I want to introduce my kids to?
Yeah.
You know, like, okay, you have to see this. You know, like for my kids, a couple other ones that they have to see. Recently, he saw Rocky.
Yeah.
You know, and
did he like that, by the way?
he liked Rocky, the character of Rocky,
Uh-huh.
but he was so convinced, spoiler alert, that Rocky was going to win in the end.
Mm-hmm.
And he even made mention of it a couple of times, like, oh, this is a sports movie, man. He's going to win, blah, blah, blah. You know, like he'd already written it off. And at the end, when he didn't, he goes, this movie sucks.
Did M. Night Shyamalan, did he do this one?
Yeah, it was Rocky was definitely a Shyamalan
He was
movie.
Shyamalan.
But I did tell him this because everybody was like, well, what'd you tell him? I told him, hey, Con, this isn't the end of the story.
Yeah.
I was like, there's more. And he was all pumped up because he wanted to see Rocky do well.
Yeah.
And Back to the Future, that was one of those movies. I was like, no, I got to share this with you, man. You've got to see this. So this is one that we really, you know, enjoyed together.
Right. And so we had the stars, Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd. And Christopher Lloyd, just awesome. I mean, I get almost giddy thinking about how great he did in these movies.
Well, it's funny because when you look at both of those characters, I mean, here they were characters from TV, and both of them were very successful, you know, in the roles that they were known for. You know, Alex P. Keaton from Family Ties.
One of the great, back in that day, that was one of the great roles.
Oh, so good. And he just had such timing and a great way, you know, with his comedy that, you know, playing the perfect young Republican. Oh, that was so funny. And Christopher Lloyd as Jim on Taxi.
On Taxi, yes.
One of the funniest scenes I've ever seen is when when Jim was taking his driver's license test, and they were trying to help him cheat to pass in the DMV. Look that up on YouTube and just be ready. That is just beautifully played.
Did you ever see the episode where he went from basically being a genius to being kind of almost an idiot?
What are you talking about on Taxi?
On Taxi.
No, because I didn't watch that much Taxi.
There's this one. He was in college. He was a straight A honor roll student, and someone gave him some spiked brownies.
No, and that's the way he is. The way he is.
That's how he ended up being the way he was. It was hilarious,
dude. That show had so many great characters. Now that Danny DeVito. I mean, come on. But yeah, both of those were incredible choices to be on there because, like you said with Eric Stoltz, if they would have had somebody else's Marty McFly, it would have really changed the movie, probably ruined it, in my opinion. What about? Could you imagine a different Doc Brown?
I can't think of anybody else.
I mean,
that's a role that he has made his.
Totally. Even if you had another comedian, like say they wanted to do a reboot and you're not going to find another Doc Brown because he's either going to do something that's a pale comparison, or it's going to be their version. I mean, can you imagine Jim Carrey?
That's oddly enough the first name that came to my mind.
Me too.
But I can't see him doing it.
No, me neither. And Jack Black, I mean, dude, as Doc Brown.
That's actually a funny image in my head now.
It would be a funny SNL skit.
Yeah.
But I would not want that to be canonized as a movie. But hey, I'll tell you something else I loved about this movie. It wasn't the first one, but this is the one movie that I really fell in love with the entire idea and theme of a time travel movie.
Yep.
Nowadays, if there's something, I don't care if it's released, on Netflix, DVD, or Redbox, whatever, straight to video type thing. If it is like that, like Project Almanac, I'm watching it.
Old school Time Cop.
Oh, Time Cop, man. I love that. I love the idea that you could get a second chance.
Yeah.
And especially in this movie, look at Marty McFly's life. He's, a diamond in the rough. But his family is just in the rough.
Yep.
Yeah, there's no diamonds there.
Oh, Crispin Glover playing the dad. And twice in this movie, he has that scene where he's watching the old honeymooners, and that laugh, that laugh is epic.
It's so bad that you have to love it.
Yep.
Oh, I love that movie. It's funny, Crispin Glover, same thing. Talk about perfect casting.
Yep.
Because let me tell you something. If you've seen these movies and you know anything about Crispin Glover, then you're one of those guys who knows, okay, look, this guy is an oddball in real life.
He is.
And we'll talk about that, but he's cut from a different cloth, which was perfect. That's what you needed. You needed somebody who was basically insane. In the first movie, he came across harmless, but I think behind the scenes, he didn't come across so harmless, which is why, there was no George McFly in the future. Yeah. And so, but he was perfect. The setup was perfect. Yeah. I mean, and even the cameos. Remember Huey Lewis?
Huey Lewis, great.
Dude, he was fantastic in this because, he was huge.
He was the biggest rock star out there. And he said on a documentary about this movie, he said, if this doesn't work out, it's going to ruin my music career. MTV's never going to want me again. Back when MTV had music.
Oh, man. But he could not do it any better. It's funny because that's a great idea. They ought to have a channel that does music television.
That sounds crazy.
That's a new idea. Write that down.
I've got it down.
All right. We'll send that into the people with the money.
Yeah.
but the idea of what he did, it was perfect because music was such a part of this movie. I don't know. Do you feel like that maybe back in the 80s especially? It was more so, kind of tied
totally
together.
Do. I mean, look at all those movies that a soundtrack is just tied to that movie.
Look at like Kenny Loggins with Top Gun.
Oh yeah.
Footloose, right? Yeah. All of those things. And it's funny, but if Power of Love comes on, I'm blaring it.
St. Elmo's Fire. That song was just rattling through my head.
Dude, look at that. That's a great one, too. Great one. But, I was looking at it one of the things I loved was how important music was to Marty.
Yeah.
You know, because, I mean, what kid at that point
I mean,
in
right
life?
at the beginning of the movie.
Ah.
I mean, with that guitar scene and that big, huge speaker, and he just hits it and everything explodes.
Whoa.
He goes flying backwards.
Rock and roll.
And then Doc Brown calls like, there might be a little problem with the amp. He goes, I'll keep that in mind.
You know, every delivery that he did, and this is going to sound totally cheesy, but everything that he did, I watched it so much, and I loved his way so much. I probably made a life mistake and kind of, you know, patterned myself after, you know, the qualities that he possessed.
Yep.
I love the
skateboarding, being late everywhere.
Being late everywhere. I swear, I thought it was so cool that no matter what, at the last second, he'd come sliding in the floor and be like, I'm here.
Awesome.
And he was always, it didn't matter. He was going to be there. It might be at the last possible second, but he was going to pull it off and knock it out of the park.
Yep.
And I said, that's what I want to be. That is the coolest thing ever. What about him grabbing onto the cars or the trucks on the skateboard?
Oh, yeah.
I was like, this guy has it all worked out.
Like, I remember back in the day, I tried that with a bike. And that
doesn't work the same.
Yeah, all I know is I had some scrub marks all over me from like eating pavement.
You're supposed to let go if you fall. You know that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I let go and like slid on the pavement like I was going into home plate.
Dude, I have this picture of you just holding on, like, slow down.
Yeah.
Let go, Daryl. Let go.
It was funny because we were getting toward an intersection, and I'm like, dude, is he going to turn? Because I don't have brakes on this thing.
Dude, I'm telling you. I had one instance where a buddy of mine, the car door was open, and he took off. So I started kind of jogging to keep pace with him because I was trying not to fall down. And he thought it was funny, so he started speeding up. And I'm looking at him with, like, terror, pure terror in my eyes going, I'm about to die, idiot. Stop the car. Oh.
What,
Jeff Mendoza, I remember that.
Hey, did he stop and you just slam into the back of the vehicle?
Honestly, I don't remember. It was almost like I had an out-of-body experience, awesome. And I remember being back at the skating rink. I was like, I don't know what just happened. I think I died. So, but loved the way he was, you know, always coming in at the last second and making it work. The DeLorean. I mean, that's up there with,
I have said,
the General Lee and the Batmobile.
For many, many years, if I could own one car, it would be that DeLorean.
Oh, dude.
I would like any DeLorean that works and is shiny.
Dude,
but man, love that car.
Now, I'll be honest, and I might be wrong. I'm not a real car guy, but if I'm not mistaken, if you can get, you know, a buyer, you know, a seller, they're not as crazy as what you would think. They're not like Lamborghini type prices. I mean, there's something that you could afford.
They are for me.
Oh, yeah. Agreed. Next topic. But, you know, I looked at it. If you did that, would you put a flux capacitor fake thing in there? You'd almost have to.
I went to a Comic-Con, and they have one like that. They goes to all the conventions and stuff, and that's the one I always take a picture with.
Oh, dude, that's cool.
And I love that thing. It's like, man, he even has the out-of-time license plate on it.
Oh, yeah, man.
If you have one, you must have that.
You must have it. Go
to another state that hasn't sold that license plate already and get it.
Dude, yeah, either that or just make it up and get the ticket. And
yeah.
It's worth it. It's worth the ticket. But I mean, here it is. How many years has passed since there? But we still know the name of the flux capacitor. Yeah. And if you know the flux capacitor, and
you know how he got it too, don't you?
Yeah. And I fell and hit my head on the sink. You know?
I think it was the toilet.
The toilet.
Yes, on the toilet.
I was censoring this.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think you're allowed to say toilet on the air.
I don't think you can say toilet.
But
commode either.
What's the other word that is with time travel that is out there that you have to remember? If you remember flux capacitor,
plutonium
point
1.21 gigawatts.
Gigawatts, man.
What the hell's a gigawatt?
Dude, all I know, a bolt of lightning.
You never know when a bolt of lightning is coming.
We do now.
Wait, what did you say?
Oh, dude, I love it.
Now, let me tell you a little spoiler. Well, you know what? We'll wait to that. We'll wait to that part.
You're going to wait?
Yeah.
Okay.
Leah Thompson.
First thing I ever saw her in was this.
Yeah, me too.
And it's weird because, you know, the first thing you ever see her as an older woman who's kind of let herself go.
And it was funny because I was watching that documentary and she said, you know, as she was putting on the makeup, as they're putting on the makeup, and she was like, "Oh, this is terrible." And then,
this is terrible.
And when they got toward then, she's like, "Wow, I really look like an old woman."
Yeah,
she went home, to see her mom, and her mom was like, "Oh my goodness!"
Like, what did you do to yourself?
And dude, she played such a great role.
She was perfect.
Yeah.
You know what though? It kind of weirded me out when the young Lorraine, was there. I felt creepy.
Yeah.
Digging because she was a cutie.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, dude, that's his mom, dude.
But and I think the premise of this whole movie is go back in time to see your parents. Was all these stories they said really true?
Right.
And I thought, man, that is a great idea.
Well, we all glamorize, our version of our past.
Yeah.
Well, I don't, but everybody else does.
Mine's glamorous.
Mine is not glamorous, but, but not only that, but you take and look at your parents. And for a lot of us, we look at them and we're like, man. It's a lot to live up to. These guys probably did everything right.
Yeah.
Because now when you ask them questions, they have the answers. But if you go back and you met them, could you imagine hanging with your dad at your age and him being a knucklehead like you are? You're like,
dang, thanks. I appreciate that.
Dude, like we are.
Oh, okay, now we're in business.
I was speaking ubiquitously.
Oh, that's right. With like cameras or something.
That's an inside joke. I know that's not what ubiquitous means.
Later on, you'll figure it out.
Yeah. But, when I looked at this, I was like, I would love to have seen my dad because my dad's my hero.
Yeah.
And I would have loved to seen, behind the scenes. I was like,
awesome.
Dude, you weren't a hero until later when I knew you.
Just like a screw up like we are.
I'm
making mistakes, but that's all right.
But I loved how they put him into a situation where not only does he get to meet him, but the real, drawing power of the story was that you could see because he had gone, the lesson was if you mess with the past, as good as that idea is that there's strings attached. Your own existence could be in jeopardy, which it was, of course, and he's starting to disappear.
Yeah, his dad went from being a peeping Tom to a star.
Oh, dude.
He was in the street. Why was he in the street? He was a peeping Tom.
Dude, there's a few, dude, and he's like, oh, dude, that was terrible. Jailbird Joey, right? But
get used to those bars.
Oh.
It's a great line.
And I loved when he did go back and he was talking to the guy, when he was ordering in the diner.
Yeah.
And,
Can I get a Pepsi free? If you want a Pepsi, you're going to pay for it.
Well, give me a tab. You got to order something to get a tab.
Mayor Grady Wilson. Goldie Wilson.
Dude, that's
he went
awesome.
from being a guy cleaning up to being the mayor.
The mayor.
And it's all because Marty was like, you're going to be a mayor one day.
I like the sound of that. That was great.
That was great.
Well, and that's a good lesson, too, because, it actually does make you think. It's like, man, we think that some of the times when we're encouraging people and giving them just these, little bits and pieces, maybe to empathize with them and maybe help them out a little bit, it's a real life lesson to say, hey, you can affect somebody in a positive way and change their life. Mm-hmm. He talked his dad into becoming the man that he probably, if he had anybody there, that he could have been.
Yeah.
And in that moment, when he's there with Biff, and he has to take and make the decision, do I turn into a coward again?
Yeah.
Do I go the way I've always gone, or is this it? Is this the line in the sand, my defining moment? I love that.
Would you want to go back a little bit before that when he went into that room and said, "I'm Darth Vader from the planet Vulcan"?
He said he would melt my brain.
Yeah, just keep that brain melting between us.
And you know what I love? I love that the music he put in, Eddie Van Halen, Eruption. I was like, that's perfection.
Yeah.
That's perfection. Because he said he would melt my brain. I died when he said that. So
awesome.
Well, you think about it. It's amazing if you don't have any choices.
Hey, man, get your damn hands off her.
You think I should swear? Yeah, you can't say that.
Yes, I can't quote that part. But yes, you can.
Loved it. And what a twist to take and have Biff, the bully, trying to take and make the moves on your mom.
Yeah.
And it's your mom.
Yeah.
You're going to do anything in the world. You can take somebody who would never do anything and you touch their mother and you'll have a raving lunatic on their hand.
Exactly right.
Biff's a huge guy, but nobody's going to let anybody touch their mom. And then he's like, oh, my God, she fell in love with me. I can't be the hero as much as I need to protect my mom. I got to make my dad the hero.
That's awesome.
That's a great story.
And then mom goes from being this perfect, almost angelic woman. Now she's a drinker and a
she's
smoker.
a party animal. Oh.
She's partying in the cars with guys. Like,
you drink? You smoke too? Dude. Hey, now what about his scene on the skateboard. Remember when they were chasing him?
Yeah.
I thought that was
scene.
Oh, it was great.
That was great.
I was never a skateboarder. That was, not my thing. But seeing that, I was like, man, that's cool.
Yeah, let me try that.
Jumping, walking through the cars before it hit, I was like, man, that's gold.
That was awesome.
So, and
I love that. That was a gag that ran through all the movies.
Oh, dude, that was a really smart idea on their thing, is to say, you know what? When you have a story, that story can be repeated different ways throughout time, and they did a really good job of tying it. Now, what about, he comes through at the end, and he slugs Biff. To me, that moment, and I know this might be melodramatic, but I really like that scene a lot.
Yeah.
That's up there with Daniel LaRusso crane kicking Johnny in the face. That's one of those moments of like, oh, yeah, that moment.
I mean, that's one of those. I actually saw this later. I didn't actually see it in theater. But I can just imagine everyone jumping up and cheering when that happened.
Oh, dude, you know what? I wish I could remember, because inside I know I was. Now, I remember in The Karate Kid, they were, man.
Oh, yeah.
People coming out their seat during that, which was unusual back then.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I loved after, he did that to Biff was him on stage getting his shot.
Yeah.
That until the end, when he just went a little bit nuts, that was one of the coolest things. I was like, I could picture myself.
Marvin Berry.
Your cousin? Dude.
That was awesome. And the principal. First time Marty sees
Strickland?
Yeah, Strickland. Was that his name? I think that was his name. But he said, goes, geez, did this guy ever have hair? that was great. That was incredible.
Now, let me ask you, because everybody is, they say all actors are frustrated rock stars. Have you ever just wanted to be on stage and pull that moment that he had with the guitar? I mean, who could not associate with that?
Of course, I'd freeze.
That's the whole thing. If you live through him, you watch it enough times, you are.
Yes, I am that rock star.
You're in the rock star moment.
I mean, that was incredible.
And
I bet a whole generation of people really said, "Oh, that's who Chuck Berry is."
Dude, that was the introduction, right?
It's funny because I listened to some Chuck Berry stuff not too long ago, and this was back in the 60s, maybe even late 50s, early 60s.
Yeah.
And I realized, you know what? He was heavy metal before heavy metal was out there.
Oh, dude, he was fringe.
I was like, man.
Yeah, man, he was fringe.
Incredible.
And iconic,
Oh, yeah.
I think if you're really into music, you've heard him say for years that, Elvis kind of ripped him off, is kind of what he says, you know. So the guy was an innovator, and to see, maybe where they kind of suggested that Marty might have been the catalyst for that. That's gold, man.
That was awesome.
That's gold. Now, what about the edge of the seat? He's got one shot.
Enchantment Under the Sea?
No, yeah, right. Where they're trying to send him back.
Yeah.
You got one shot, and the plug comes unplugged. That tree falls on it. I'll tell you what. That was
that part. I thought you meant back at the concert. My bad.
Oh yeah. After he's already done it, and he said, "Hey, be easy on your kid if he sets fire to the living room rug."
Marty, that's a great name.
Yeah, right. But the other thing that kind of, when he left them, that I kind of thought of was, I wonder how many people in our lives have come in, because if you think about it, Marty was only there for maybe a week.
Yeah. No, they said it was exactly a week.
Right.
Yeah.
He said, I can hang out in 1950 for a week, Yeah. But how many people have we kind of run into that could have had an effect like that on us, but we can't really remember their name?
Yeah.
Because think about it. This kid's going to grow up, and they're going to have that kind of moment where they, wait a minute. You're exactly.
Now, there's one thing I thought about that scene when he said that. I was like, why didn't they name the first kid Marty? Because I don't think he was the first kid.
No, he had an older brother.
And I was like, well, why wasn't the first kid named Marty?
They probably said, because it was only a week, they'd forgotten about the guy. Was his name Todd? I don't remember. Brian? I don't know.
Now, when Doc Brown was up there trying to get that connection back, at the very beginning of the movie, they're panning through his room and stuff where it's got all the gadgets, got all these clocks.
And they got the clock tower.
They have one, it's a clock tower. And it's got him hanging on the clock.
A little foreshadowing.
And I saw that because the first time I actually noticed it was today. No, yesterday. It was yesterday when I saw it. I was like, wow, I had never noticed that before. I've seen this movie I don't know how many times.
Now, when I saw that, I did think that it might have been foreshadowing, But there's a very famous movie with that gag in it back in the silent film days with Buster Keaton. And I remember, when I saw that, kind of remembering that, and it was kind of cool because it almost threw you off the trail if you did familiarize yourself.
I didn't realize you were that old that you knew Buster Keaton in the silent era.
I'm ancient, dude. You know what's crazy about me? When I was a kid, I always wanted to know about, like, where stuff came from in the past and stuff. So when I'd go to the library and I'd want to know all the history of like the older movies. Dude, Google. Yahoo. No, I didn't. But I remember looking into these old books. I wanted to find the old Superman and old Batman and stuff and look into that even as a kid when they didn't have the internet. Mm-hmm. So I remember thinking, what's this silent film thing? What is that about? Yeah. Charlie Chaplin. Anyway, were you on the edge of your seat when they were
oh yeah.
When he was going, because he was like,
he's not going to make it. He's not going to make it.
Right?
Then the car stalls out. I was like, oh no, the car stalled. Oh no.
These are all such easy gags to get somebody on the edge of their seat, and every one of them worked on me. I was like, I don't care, keep doing it, it's great. But I love that Marty, he said, I'm flooring it.
Yeah.
You better be ready because no matter what, I'm going to be there when the lightning strikes.
Gave Doc the letter for the future because was it Israelis?
Yeah. Oh no.
Palestinians.
Yeah, Middle Eastern.
Yes. they were going to. He stole the plutonium from them.
Oh, right.
At the beginning of the movie.
I gave him some old pinball machine parts. Told him I'd make it a bomb.
It was so awesome,
dude. Very good.
And Einstein the dog.
Einstein,
the first time traveler.
I tell you what grossed me out. Remember the machine that fed the dog?
Oh yeah.
And you see the Alpo pile there. I'm like,
it's a big.
When I used to feed my dog as a kid, we'd feed him Alpo, and like the smell literally made me gag. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, I could not take it, man. I was like, that's completely gross.
Yeah.
So he goes back into time, and you're like, oh man,
It's like
did he read the letter?
He's like he fixes everything, and now he's not going to get back.
Either that or...
And then he sets the clock back 15 minutes so he can get across town in time.
And it stalls.
And then it stalls again.
Could you imagine that? It's like, I got all the time in the world. Then why didn't you set it for more than 15 minutes?
Exactly.
I
can come back a day before. It's no big deal.
The fact that he took and did... survive and read the letter is all taped up and stuff. What the hell? You know? Was so cool because you thought, what a great turnaround. Mm-hmm. It actually worked out that he had to take and make the mistake, go back to the future to fix, to fix this future too.
Yep.
And you thought that was it.
Yep.
But the reveal, I mean, that was just over the moon. Here he comes in. And, he wakes up.
Yeah, he sneaks into his house, so he doesn't
see anything or anybody.
Yeah. That was so well played that they did that, too.
Dude, that was great, because that's what he would have done, man. Under the radar, sliding into bed, and just call it good. And everything in his world is 100% better because George McFly is a better person.
Like, what the hell is this?
Dude.
See his brother in a suit, and his sister's got, like, dates lined up.
Oh, dude, that was fantastic.
Awesome. Then the parents come in.
And then they look fabulous. Yeah. And then Biff is just like he should be, this little imp.
Yeah.
Because that's what he was. This guy was a total tool.
Yeah.
And that's what he should be. But that moment, too, when he goes out and he sees his car and they play the music, man, or his truck, his new truck.
Yeah, his new truck.
He's like, man, what a night that was.
What a week. He sees his girlfriend. You act like you haven't seen me in a week.
Now,
I haven't.
Dude, right? Now, think about that girl.
So awesome.
Because in the future movies, it's a different actress.
She's gone.
What did you think about that actress?
She seemed fine to me. I thought she worked fine. I didn't see any reason for her to not be in other movies.
And I'll be honest, I thought she was completely cute.
Yeah.
There was something about her that was so endearing. Like, man, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
If you want to paint a picture of how this thing would look if it was all together, that would be it.
Yeah.
I mean, she's a cutie.
Yeah.
You're thinking that it couldn't be any better. It's all done, happily ever after, and then they set up the second one.
Yeah. Doc comes in from the future.
Dude, what do you think about that outfit he had on? A mustard gold overcoat of silk.
Yes.
A plastic see-through tie with a red polka dotted.
The plastic see-through tie. That was the one thing out of that whole thing. I was like, really?
Nuts.
That?
Dude. And of course, now we actually get into, they're setting up the second one.
Yeah.
The first thing in the future, because today is the 21st,
mm-hmm.
and we're going to take and say, all right, because, of course, the idea was to go into October 21st, 2015.
And here we are.
So he comes back with a DeLorean, and apparently today we do have Mr. Fusion. The reactor is now like Mr. Coffee, where you can take items from the garbage, create a nuclear reaction to go for time travel.
Now, here's my question.
There are no Mr. Fusions.
Whoa.
They're not.
Now, was he the only one that apparently still had this technology in the future? Because apparently the answer is yes.
Well, yeah, I guess you're right.
I mean, they made Mr. Fusion, but they apparently just made just for him.
Or that was his patent.
Yeah.
Took him a week.
Yeah, I literally just now thought about that. I was like, wait a minute, how come he's the only one that had that in the future?
You know what? That's the only way that could make it up, because otherwise you'd be seeing these cars all over the place with Mr. Fusions on them.
They'd be bringing sports almanacs back all over the place.
Could you imagine how that would throw down? Now, the next thing that they don't have, because now can we call it? Are we on Back to the Future 2 now?
We're on 2 now.
Do we need to grade these? We already graded it, right?
Oh, dude, this is an easy A+.
Easy A+.
Yeah.
Easy A+. Back to the Future 2? Not an A+.
No.
Not an A+.
No, sorry.
But you had to come back and see it. You were
I want to apologize to Elizabeth Shue.
Oh.
She's a cutie, and she took the girlfriend place.
Oh. And there is a story. I'm sorry, I didn't read up on why they had a new actress. Elizabeth Shue, of course, was great, but I'll be honest, I was kind of miffed. Because I wanted to see the other girl.
I watched it again, and I had forgotten. It's like they put the other girl's hair on her.
Yes.
And it looked horrible.
Ridiculous.
On her. I mean, I remember her from Adventures in Babysitting.
Yes.
Was that her in there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was in that, and of course, Karate Kid.
I almost messed up myself there, but yes.
Oh
yeah, Karate Kid. Yeah. It's like she's just
beauty.
It's a beautiful, beautiful girl.
But with this terrible wig,
yes,
it was like, dude, that's even bad by 80s standards.
Yeah, they went 80s poof overboard.
That thing looked bulletproof. It was like that thing could repel Mr. Fusion laser beams.
Mr. Fusion.
Now, that leads us to the second thing too. They got the new girl. Elizabeth Shue is taking over. But the second thing from the future, let's see where we're at. Did it happen? Do we have flying cars?
I haven't seen any, but actually, you know what? I've seen one they're trying to do still.
Yeah, but it's not.
It's not like like they had lanes in the skies where people were driving.
Right, and it's not
this
a hover conversion.
This is my exit. I got to go down.
Right, no hover conversion.
And no hoverboards.
Well, right. Well, they were talking about the thing with flying cars because you think about it. You're essentially putting a bunch of airplanes up there by people who are not airplane pilots.
Right.
And
we got enough problem with people driving on the road, much less in the sky.
Well, think about it like this. I mean, it's horrible when a plane crashes. It makes the news. It's terrible. Mm-hmm. Now you're going to have these people literally launching missiles wherever they want.
My thought, wait, a fender bender, would they come all the way to the ground and crash?
Oh. A fender bender indeed. So no flying cars, no cars with hover conversions.
All right.
But what I was saying was that they said the guy who's invented that flying car, that it's actually a car with wings, but it can actually put the wings up and drive.
Yeah.
He said, and I never understood this, he said that if you put every single car that was on the road right now in the sky, that there'd be miles in between each one of them. And that logic doesn't hold up.
No.
Because that's only if they cover every, mile on the earth. 70% of the earth is covered in water.
Yeah.
You're not going to have your car over the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
I don't plan on it. Well, you know what? I might go to Hawaii.
You could.
Yeah.
Better have a full tank of gas.
Well,
it better have a submarine conversion.
Will get me there. Come on.
Right? That's right.
I just take some trash with me and I got refueled.
I think it would be fun, but I was like, man, if I was going to do a flying car, I'd rather just have an X-Wing fighter.
There you go.
If we're going that far, just give me an X-Wing.
The Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, dude, I'm good. I don't need a DeLorean that lifts.
I don't know.
So
DeLorean X-Wing.
What are the other things that we have to look at for the future?
The
hoverboard.
Yeah, the hoverboard. If you go to just about any comic convention, you see someone with a skateboard and they painted hoverboard on it.
Right.
Now, one thing about that hoverboard scene, you remember when he got stuck over the water and they come after him?
Yeah.
And they go flying into the building.
Right.
Now, I just looked this up recently and I found out the girl, she went flying up there and she hit one of those posts, and she come down and literally almost died.
No way.
If you look, they just have like a real split second of when she hits the ground behind them.
They showed it?
Oh, dude, it looks painful.
No way.
She
That's
like,
in the movie?
Yeah, she looks like she fell from about 20 feet on concrete. And then you got glass breaking and falling all around her. I was like, good gracious.
And they said, "Are you okay?" No. All right. Did you guys get that on camera?
It's like, keep it.
Make sure we keep that.
Keep it.
She didn't die. We can keep it in.
Because I was, man.
You know who else I remember being in there? And back then, he was just another one of those thugs. Mm-hmm. But Jason Scott Lee was one of the hoverboard thugs. The actor who,
I know Billy Zane was one of them.
Billy Zane was? I did not know that.
Billy Zane from later on The Phantom. No, maybe before that, The Phantom.
Dude, with
right
me,
around that era.
Jason Scott Lee was
he later became
Dragon, the Bruce Lee story.
I was saying, he was later Bruce Lee. I did not realize he was in it.
He was. I think that was one of his first ones that he was in, and it was weird when he came out with Dragon, the Bruce Lee story, and I was looking at his past and seeing such a difference.
I remember seeing it thinking, who is this guy? He looks very familiar to me. That's awesome. Love that.
Billy Zane, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that's good.
Look it up.
Dude, I got to check Wiki closer. Hey, now, do you know the hoverboard? There's been talk about that for years, where they're trying to develop it. And what is it, last year?
They made like a magnetic floor for the thing, and it would hover because you had magnets.
Right.
But if you take it off the magnets, it drops right to the ground.
Well, they had that kind of fake commercial where they said, we really did it.
Yeah.
And Tony Hawk was involved and all these other actors, but it was completely, bogus.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, I so wanted that to be real. I was like, could you imagine that? That would be great.
That would have been awesome if they had put Tony Hawk in that. Tony Hawk in 1985. Now Tony Hawk.
Oh, dude, that would have been great.
Thing is,
as the adult.
He's still awesome.
He's still awesome. Now, the one you're talking about with the magnets under the floor, I think that was developed by a car company. Was it?
That I don't know.
I want to say it was Mercedes or somebody like that. They actually did have where the board would hover.
Yeah.
It's almost like though it had to follow the railing of the magnets. Mm-hmm. But still cool. Look that up on YouTube and look up the hoverboard thing with Tony Hawk on. Both of those are fun to watch. Yeah. Those are great.
Oh, and one other thing they had back in the future then, which today, very, very relevant.
What?
The Chicago Cubs.
Can you believe that?
I mean, all these years later, the Cubs have a chance at winning the World Series, but I'm sorry for all the Cubs fans. They will be losing to my New York Mets.
You know what?
I'd like to apologize for them right now.
Dude, I love you, and I want always the best for you. I want your dreams to be realized, but I love the Cubs. I hope they kill your Mets.
See, now, back in the day, I loved the Cubs. Because they were on every day at 2:05.
Yeah, I was going to say on cable.
Harry Carey.
I
loved Harry Carey announcing the game.
Oh, ditto. And that's the only reason I was like, man, what a great community they had. Yeah. That's before I knew about what, the murder rate in Chicago
right.
is. But the Cubs actually have a shot. How cool would that be?
And they had them playing Miami. They didn't say what Miami's team name was, but it's funny. That was well before Miami had a team.
Talk about. I wonder if that had anything to do with the decision to relocate.
That is awesome.
A franchise there.
I thought, man, I had forgotten that they had another team, and I just remember they said Chicago won. I was like, that is awesome.
Now, if they beat your Mets,
which they're not, but anyway,
which they're not, I realize. But hypothetically, if they did, would you find some comfort?
Oh, I would love to see them win
because of the movie, right?
Well, because the movie,
dude. I'm sorry. That would make me really happy to see them win.
That would be sweet. But, even though, again.
Now, how close are they? Because I don't follow it like you do.
Right now, let's see. They are down 2-0 right now. 2 games to none.
And where are they at in the series? This isn't the World Series right now.
No, this is the National League playoffs.
Okay.
So
if they win, they go to the World Series.
Go to the World Series, right. But, again, they're not because they're trailing my New York Mets.
Are they down 2 games to none?
Yes. Best of 7.
Oh, boy.
They got no chance.
Come on, Cubbies. Come on. All right, well, the other thing is self-lacing sneakers.
Oh, yeah, and the jackets.
Yeah, and the self-drying clothes.
Yeah, we need those.
We need
those really badly.
Our version of those are called Under Armour.
Yeah, that's right.
Wicking technology is as close as we've gotten.
And that's one reason I love doing racing events, like my jogging events.
Right.
Because every one you get a free shirt.
Oh, are they all?
Most of them are.
Dry fit, right?
Yeah, most of them are.
Well,
and when you got a belly like mine, dry fit's not appropriate.
It's like I do not need the second skin. The first skin is plenty.
Yes.
Well, they actually did try to take and do a patent on a self-lacing shoe in the 2000s with Nike.
Yeah, as I remember, Nike was trying to put
with their Hyperdunk series.
Yeah.
And they were, going to see if they couldn't do something to finalize it would be, kind of similar to what Back to the Future did for 2015. But unfortunately, there's nothing out yet.
I still got to bend down, tie my shoes.
Who knows? Maybe
unless you have the Velcro ones.
Right.
Which I don't like those.
Velcro is not self-lacing. Those are different. Don't keep telling yourself that.
Well, man can try.
A man can try. Now, we've talked about the future, because today we've seen what we have. Yeah. A couple of things that we do have, flat screen TVs.
Yeah.
Skype. That are widescreen.
Oh, yeah.
Skype. They were right about the Skype, It was funny. I remember that idea was so crazy as a kid. First time I ever saw anything like that was on the Jetsons.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you remember thinking, you mean you could watch somebody instead of like being on the phone?
Yeah.
And be seeing them? Now, that's so real. Yeah. And it's not even that big a deal anymore.
Exactly.
Like
I got friends in other countries I can just talk to.
That's weird, dude.
And I don't have to pay long distance charges.
That's unreal too. I remember back in the day, you were like, hurry up, we're on the clock here. But what else were some of the things that we did have? They had fax machines in that. Fax machines, okay. Because back then, I don't even know if people really had those, or you had to go somewhere to use one, or what. Yeah, I think if they had one back then, it was a big deal. It wasn't like it was in your house, like a computer. When he got fired, in 3 different places in his house, it faxed out for him. Now, what about the internet? Did they have any mention of that in that movie? They really didn't. No. Because that would have been too big of an idea, right? But my thought is, if you got the communication one-on-one like that through a televition, you're close right there. You would have some kind of internet use to get to it. Well, that's it. The connection, the web. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I can't. The 3D shark. Oh, Jaws 41 or something like that. Hey, one of the other thing is when they're talking about that area, hands-free gaming. Yeah. Yeah. Or wearable technology. Mm-hmm. Both of those are real. You got Google Glasses. Google Glass, yeah. Your Apple Watch. Mm-hmm. So, like your Xbox, you have the Kinect, and PlayStation, you have whatever the PlayStation version is. Yeah, I don't know either. But what about even like now the virtual reality stuff? Was it Oculus? Mm-hmm. Getting ready to come out. Yeah. I mean, man, there are things where we're getting to be. It's so fun to see where we were because technology took like this major jump, just like boom. It all happened when the aliens landed in Roswell. Fiber optics, brother. Yeah. That's where it all began. Bigfoot actually unleashed a lot of those different technological advancements to Nessie. Yeah. and went to Roswell with them. Now let's see how many people actually know who Nessie is. Or Champ. You see, I'm from Vermont, so yeah. Champ is where it all came from. Nessie's the knockoff. That's right. Now, the movie itself was, in my opinion, completely forgettable. Exactly. Because it was almost like they took and messed it up on purpose. Yeah, like he had to go to the future. Then he had to go back to 1955. It just and I was like, total confusion. You just ruined the whole thing that you did in 1955. Yeah. Just go to the future, fix that, then come back. Dude, I couldn't imagine more. If I were, looking at it and it said, hey, look, let me give you some of my ideas. My idea would have been just that. Keep them in the future. Mm-hmm. Don't do the sports almanac thing where they go back to the 50s. Now, being a huge sports fan, that thought of me having all the scores of every game for 50 years. That's unreal to think of that. How much power do you have with that kind of information? That kind of information is like a lottery ticket that never stops winning. Just like Time Cop. You have all the stock market information right there in the palm of your hands. Oh, dude. I mean, just how rich you could be. And that's what Biff did. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And Biff was already corrupt, and it just got worse. Can you imagine? Because I'm a big believer, money makes you more of what you already are. Yep. If you're a giver, you got more to give with. If you're a jerk, you're a bigger jerk, right? Yep. It's not good or bad. And you give somebody like Biff that kind of money, I mean, he's a bully to begin with. And now he's like, dude, unstoppable force of ugliness, But that movie just did not work for me. Not at all. Speaking of which, it didn't work for Crispin Glover either. Exactly. Because
he wasn't even in it.
He wasn't even in it.
They actually had, because I watched it again, it's like, I thought he was at. And we're back. Crispin Glover.
Completely out of the movie.
Yeah.
Now, did you just barely watched it again, right?
Yeah, I just watched it again yesterday, and they had scenes where he was like coming into their house and he was upside down, and so you couldn't really see him. So I thought, well, maybe he did have like a little cameo in it.
Right.
Turns out that was not even him.
No. In fact, it's funny because he sued them successfully because of how they wrote him out and handled him being out of the script. In fact, it was such a big deal in Hollywood, because he won. It actually changed how producers and people in the industry could do something like that with a character who had been written, with this star.
Right.
I mean, you think about that because Crispin Glover, if you've ever seen anything that he has done, like on Letterman or something like that, when he would go on those talk shows of the day, and he's an odd dude, man. I mean, he's out there. Even it's funny to look at the other people, like whoever was interviewing him, like you're a step away from dangerous. I guess it's close to like what we would think Andy Dick is now.
Yeah.
Get this guy off my set.
Yeah, I mean, it's always uncomfortable seeing him anywhere.
Yeah, and he always would bring up like his martial arts, like I'll kick your tail, man. I'm a black belt, and you're like you're an idiot.
That to me, it almost seems like he's trying to go back and be Andy Kaufman.
It could be,
because Andy, they said if you really knew him, sweetest guy, but if you didn't know him, he was a jerk.
Oh, really?
And he really played that up.
Oh, it's weird because you don't know where does art begin and the real person end, and vice versa. I think the last thing I ever saw Crispin even in was, and I didn't watch the movie, but it was Willard. Something about, with him with a bunch of rats and stuff, kind of like a horror film.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah, it was, I don't think it was probably 10 years after all that happened. But, he's definitely not like the Michael J. Fox, level of stardom.
Yeah.
Stuff. But this movie, when they did it, after I watched it, this is not one that I watched a whole bunch. If I gave the first one an A, I'd give this one, at best, a D.
Wow.
I hated it.
Wow.
Because
my thought was like C-.
Really? Yeah. The best I could do is a D. I hated this movie.
Yeah.
I watched it one or maybe two times. That other one, I'd still watch today.
Yeah.
If this one was on today, you'd have to pay me to watch it. Yeah.
Yeah, I watched it for this.
I didn't. I just remembered all this from this, and I was like, Now.
Which takes us to the third one.
Yeah, because after the second one, all you wanted to do was think, well, gosh, they're going to try to tie it up.
Yeah.
I don't want to leave the story hanging. I love the character of Marty and the character of Doc and the storyline of him making good. But I'm going to tell you, I could have never thought of an idea of making it into a Western.
I would have never thought about that either, except, going back and rewatching it, that's one thing Doc said he would like to do.
Totally. They set it up,
Was it Marty?
No, it was Doc.
Yeah. Said, he would like to go back to the Western days. And I was like, that's a pretty cool concept.
It was cool, except for the lack of foresight that if you took and had a problem that you needed to get back for, plutonium, it's not in short supply, it's in no supply.
Well, they had Mr. Fusion.
Dude, right?
So.
Well, did he have it? I guess he did have it on that DeLorean.
Yeah, in the third one, yeah. And then he found a cave somewhere to hide the car.
I looked at it and I was completely, looking at this like, oh my gosh, we're going to have a Western version of the first movie.
Right.
And, you look through it and you're like, I give it a shot and see what you think. See what I thought about it. The one thing that, they try to do with the Western film or the Western theme was to take that same idea of the storyline of like, okay, in the past, we've had these problems that Marty's going to have to fix. We got to get Doc, and now we put the Western twist on it. To me, it just the only thing that worked. Some of the comedy was funny, but the story, the storyline, I was just like, no, I don't want to see this.
Exactly.
I loved them in the 50s. I love them coming of age.
All right.
The biggest thing I did like about it was, the train.
Yeah.
At the very, very, very end.
Well, to me, the best thing about it was they have that line. They call him a chicken, and throughout every movie, that's the one thing you do not say to Marty McFly is call him a chicken.
Right.
And then they ask him, "What's your name, coward?" He says,
Clint Eastwood.
I was like, that was pretty awesome.
You know what was funny is it wasn't until years later that I watched the movie that Clint did where he used that gag of putting something underneath his poncho.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I got the idea that he used it from the movie. I think they even mentioned it in the movie. Mm-hmm. But I remember him wearing that poncho and looking completely uncool. Because he's not a big guy, and he's not, the Clint Eastwood-esque looking guy either.
Not at all.
So he looked like some kid wearing a poncho that I was just like, not cool.
Then
he'd have been better dressed like John Wayne, but the gag would have been
Duke Wayne.
The Duke.
I'm Duke Wayne.
So
now, what'd you think about Mary Steenburgen just playing Doc's love interest?
I always thought that she was really attractive, and of course she's playing like an older take on a character, because it's Doc's love interest, right. But she's a great actress. I
think she's a great actress. I think for what it was,
yeah.
I mean, the way they use it in the plot, I thought it worked fine.
Yeah, I do too.
I mean, it was just used to give him a reason to stay in the past.
Now let me ask
Spoiler.
you. Spoiler.
I'm supposed to say that prior to spoiling.
Right? Not after.
Oops.
Yeah, we have to have a censor button where we do it before.
Yes.
All right. Now, the other thing was Biff. What did you think about Biff? Was it getting almost a little overplayed that Biff was,
I mean, apparently through every member of his entire family has always been a bully and a jerk. And
yeah, they all suck.
Yeah.
And now this one actually ended up shooting and killing Doc. So, I was like, wow, they're really jumping the shark here. Yeah. But again, if they came out with Back to the Future 4, I'd go and watch it.
I would too, yeah.
I'm so in love with the idea of time travel with Michael J. Fox and Doc Brown. Even if it was another just like, one that I wasn't big on. Mm-hmm. If anything, I don't want to say that those are a discredit to what their work was, but a credit to how high I set the bar with how good the first one was.
Exactly.
Now
the ending of it, Marty, he's on the train, and at the end, he's back in 85 that he came back to?
85.
And he's on the railroad track, jumps out, train come and explodes the car.
My heart smashed just like that car did. That's like running over the Batmobile.
Yeah, it was one of those things I got really upset, but when you look at it, it looks like not even a real car that explodes. It looks like something like
balsa wood.
Yeah. It's
eggshell.
Like little chunks laying around. It doesn't even look like this is what the DeLorean would be if it got hit by a train.
Right. Have you ever seen that YouTube video where it's really, I don't want to say it's cool. It's not. People died in the film, but they showed what happened. It was like on a snow-covered road, and this SUV went to take, and I guess be in the passing lane, and lost control and went head-on into like a Mack truck who was going full speed. And when that thing hit, it completely just disintegrated.
I did not see that.
Look it up. If you just put in some of those keywords like SUV, disintegrate, snowy, road or something.
Hey, a DeLorean is made out of steel. Well, it's not made out of fiberglass.
I'll tell you what, this Bronco or whatever it was, this SUV had to be made out of fiberglass. That thing, I mean, there was nothing left of it. It was like it went in and just got disintegrated. Wow. And when I saw it, it was as close to anything I ever saw, to the DeLorean just going. You're right, though. If it was a solid steel car, it'd chunk it, dent it, but it ain't disintegrating it.
And I was just like, man, that thing's actually made of actual steel back in the day. They actually made that car.
Out of steel.
The DeLorean company, that's what they made them out of.
Stainless steel.
Yeah.
Which is why they're all silver. You can't paint it.
Yeah, that's a little upsetting.
Which is still cool, though. It's iconic.
It's a great car.
Now, I gave the first one an A.
Mm-hmm.
I gave the second one a D.
Mm-hmm.
You gave the first one an A and the second one a C minus.
Uh-huh.
What do you give this one?
Even though I did not like this movie, I still sadly liked it slightly better than the second one.
Yeah,
I thought the second one was horrible. I mean, I might give this a C even.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm gonna agree with you there. I'm right there. At the best I could give it was a C.
Yeah.
Not a minus, though.
And I think it tells you how much we liked it. We talked about this entire movie in like 30 seconds.
You know what? The only reason I talked about the second one so much was because it was pertinent to today's date, October 21st. We are in the future.
Exactly.
Because in other words, just like that was the only thing that was interesting to me about it. But it's one of those things. I don't even know. This is sad to admit on the podcast, but I don't know if I care if my son sees the second and third one to complete this trilogy.
I think he should see the second one.
Do you think so?
He should see it today.
You know what?
And that's the only reason.
That's the only reason.
So, hey, look, this is what today is supposed to be like.
You know, it's funny, too, because now, tomorrow we'll be on the other side of this and looking back and kind of giggling about the silliness where they thought it was so far into the future and now it's our past.
Yeah. Wow.
It's crazy. That kind of thing. I love that because it's that time travel thing. But, yeah, that's kind of what I think. Marty McFly.
No, the overall trilogy.
Awesome. Man, I'm going to tell you what.
That's hard, isn't it?
Oh, God.
I mean, overall trilogy.
Talk about one class pulling your GPA down.
Yeah. Because I was like, man, I love the first. Just like, I mean, we're right there on the same wavelength on these movies.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
And I'm thinking, as a totality, I'm going to give it a B.
Yeah, I have to give it a B because it would break my heart to give the whole thing a C.
And the other two are, yeah.
Yeah. This trilogy gets a B. That's the Simply Incredible podcast stamp.
Yeah, that's our official grade.
Is that good?
Yes. And, well, I guess that's all we got on Back to the Future Day.
Hey.
2015.
And the
October
future
21st
is becoming the past.
Rapidly becoming the past, yes.
Hey, what do we got coming up next?
Yeah, I don't know. One day I do want to do a podcast on trilogies.
Ooh, just on a bunch of them?
Yeah. But
cool, that's good.
But other than that, we'll have to decide. We'll see what the future holds.
Do we have something special coming up for the Halloween?
We do have something special. Next week, we'll do our Halloween special.
Oh, I love it.
Just all kinds of movies, some TV shows.
I got to brush up on it. That's not my big holiday.
Not your forte.
I'm not a horror movie fan, but there are some Halloween things that I kind of dug.
You should get a little bit more ubiquitous on this. Which total ruining of the word.
It's cold out there.
Well,
hey, I'm good. Are you good?
I'm good.
Let's sign it off.
I'll let you start it this time.
We'll see you next week.
Same incredible time.
Same incredible channel. Good night.
Good night.